Many of us are aware of the unsinkable ship that sunk on its maiden voyage, the Titanic. The ship was guaranteed to be so safe that it was labeled as the unsinkable. The manufacturing company said that even God could not sink that ship, and yet it did not complete its first journey. Doesn't that sound a little strange? Till now, we have been told that in 1912 it was the largest ship of that time, the Titanic, that hit an iceberg and sank in the Atlantic Ocean. However, there is a very popular conspiracy theory that suggests that the ship that sank on April 15, 1912 was not the Titanic. The Titanic was owned by J.P. Morgan, who also happened to own another ship, the Olympic. Now, the Olympic was very old and required a lot of maintenance to be done. The ship was also in some sort of an accident, and the company was in need of a lot of money as well. So J.P. Morgan devised a cunning plan. Instead of the Titanic, the Olympic was prepared for the voyage, disguised as the Titanic. The name Olympic was painted off at the very last moment, and the name RMS Titanic was freshly inscribed on it. There is also a burnt mark on the ship's hull. Of course, a newly constructed ship that never went to the seas cannot have it unless it was a used ship. The theory is that J.P. Morgan on purpose sank the Olympic, which was actually disguised as the Titanic, because he knew that would allow him to get a lot of money from the Titanic's insurance. There was no point in sinking the newly built Titanic when he could sink an old ship that anyway required repairs and maintenance. So he scratched off the paint, swapped the names, and sank the Olympic. The insurance money was claimed as a result. But it gets worse. Among 2,400 passengers on the so-called Titanic were present all the business competitors of J.P. Morgan, each one of them. None of them survived. J.P. Morgan invited them to the maiden voyage of the Titanic, but himself canceled his ticket just 20 minutes prior to the ship's departure. There was a guy named James Fenton who worked on the ship and survived the wreck. On his deathbed, his last words were, "The Titanic never sank. It was the Olympic, and people never lie on their deathbeds."